SoFloRadio.com, and SoFloTelevision.com.
Since the dawn of civilization, the elusive quest in pursuit of the perfect drink continues to evolve. Now more than ever, we reap the rewards of this passion. The perfect vintage, the finest brew, or a spirit of optimum age in class. And now, SoFloRadio.com invites you to discover the wonderful world of booze by the glass.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to By the Glass. I'm your host, Brett Hubbard, welcoming you to explore another day in the life of beverage. And we do it here in the most wonderful fashion every Thursday at 6 o'clock on SoFlo Radio and ByTheGlassShow.com. I'm joined by my guest host and wonderful producer, Ivan Bad.
Yo, yes, I am.
And it's another amazing show because Rob from Daily Beer Review is here. How many times is this, Rob?
8 or 10, I don't know.
Are you giving away something for free, George? Why does he keep coming back?
Free,
it's a drinking show.
booze.
There's alcohol.
That's got to be it, right?
Involved.
And I'm very happy to have Mr. Chris.
I thought that's why we're all here.
All right, okay. I'm very happy to have Mr. Chris Montilius in there. Chris is a master of many things, but kombucha is definitely
That sounds like an evil mastermind name.
Well, that's it does.
Mr. Montilius.
Kombucha is definitely one of the things that high regard.
Sure.
I've actually tried your kombucha at the Jupiter Beer Festival.
Oh,
it was
cool.
excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that drink because this is our kombucha show. Yeah, we're getting into the next category of beverage now. This is a show about beverage culture, so this definitely fits into our overall file of things. When I always say, what's in the middle, not just beer, wine, and spirits, but everything that's definitely fermentable, right? That's a whole wide array of things, correct?
Very true.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about kombucha since you're the expert and how it kind of came about, your interest in it and that whole type of thing.
Well, yeah, my interest spawned from sour beers. You said I'm the kombucha expert. I'm actually more of a beer expert, but
Right,
I'm learning a lot more about kombucha. And that's how I was introduced to it. Was when I was introduced to sour beers, there weren't a lot of them 5 years ago, at least not available regularly. And I tried kombucha, and I'm like, ooh, this has a similar note. I need to know more about this. And I've always been the type of person, whatever I'm interested in, I got to know how to take it apart, how to put it back together, how to do it on my own. Especially when the stuff that is at Whole Foods is $3.79 a bottle. So
I just found that out.
yeah. So I clearly wanted to know more and how to do it on my own, and that's where it came from.
That's great. Now, I definitely love sour beers myself, and I've only, like I said, I've never really tried it. I've only tried yours, which was excellent, but I didn't really put that together in my head. It says a sweet and tart fermented drink, so it's a little bit of both.
Yes. So to make kombucha, you start with sweet tea, and you ferment sweet tea. So rather than making beer and extracting your grains or the sugar from the grains,
right,
you add sugar directly
to the tea that you've made.
Yes, and the tea would be your bittering unit rather than hops.
Right.
So you take sweet tea that has that bitter and sweet note to it, and then you ferment that. And so the yeast in the kombucha ferments the sugars into alcohol, and then there's bacteria, and the bacteria eats some of those alcohols and makes different acids, lactic acid, acetic acid.
Fantastic. So the tannic acids in the tea create the bitterness? Is that how... Pretty much? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the tea is made steeped just like grains are steeped in the water, just like you make a tea, everyday tea. I was reading a little bit about teas, and different teas have different caffeine levels and that type of thing from their initial fermentation when they're cured, correct?
Yes.
Now, is there caffeine in kombucha?
Slight, but that's also broken down in the fermentation process.
Oh, that breaks down?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the types of... Is it made with... what is exactly that you steep in the water? Is it actual tea that grows out of the ground, or is there a special kind of tea that you grow? I've read someone had a kombucha mushroom growing in there.
Well, they call it a mushroom, but it's not actually a mushroom.
Me?
George knows about mushrooms.
Just piqued my interest over here.
What they call the mushroom is because it looks like a fungus or something like that, but it's actually... The technical term, I don't know if that's actually too technical, but they call it a SCOBY, which is kind of like scuba. I forget what it's.
It's got an anagram?
Not an anagram. Anagram is when you were...
First letter of every word used, like scuba, self-contained underwater.
Anagram is when you rearrange the letters.
Oh, is it?
There's something else. I forget what it's called. But,
is it like Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, I could go for a SCOBY snack.
That's a little known fact that Scooby-Doo was named for the SCOBY.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's very little known.
It's all starting to fall into place.
SCOBY stands for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast.
Oh, cool.
So it is
So they love each
exactly
other.
what it says. Yes. The bacteria and the yeast live together and they form a congealed mat that you cannot separate. It actually grows like skin, and it's pretty cool. You can look up pictures on Google.
When I go over to my hippie friend's house, that's what they have growing in that bowl.
Yes.
There it looks like a big lily pad. and
exactly.
Wow, you have hippie friends that grow kombucha?
Kombucha, yeah, I do.
Oh, why didn't you bring them in?
And they make tea.
Yeah.
Okay.
George
Everything's
makes tea.
falling into place
George
today.
Everything is
George-
falling into
yeah.
place.
George makes mushroom tea too, but not out of kombucha.
Yeah.
Different.
Totally different.
Now you can make mushroom tea out of kombucha mushroom.
Yeah, what kind of a buzz do you get from kombucha mushrooms? Tea.
Not a lot. No, there are slight amounts of alcohol in it because it's a fermented product, but it never typically goes beyond 2%.
Okay.
Because the bacteria then comes in and reduces the alcohol by converting that into the various acids.
So do you add yeast like you would to create any other?
You don't add yeast.
Is it naturally
you well, no, you always need kombucha to make kombucha.
Okay.
It's one of those things.
Right.
So when you make kombucha, you save 10% from the last batch,
Like
and that
quarts
has
in it?
right,
Okay.
and then that has the yeast and the bacteria already in it.
Reignites
And
it.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
fantastic. That's very interesting. So it was kind of like, yeast is naturally occurring all over the world, and it's on us right now, and that's how we get lambics and wonderful, wild beers and so forth. So then, thus the connection to the sour beers you love so much.
Exactly.
So that it actually is growing in the actual product, and they just use it to reignite. That's
Right.
That's
And
probably
I
the most
know-
interesting thing I've
That's
heard
cool.
about it. Yeah.
I know that Ed did like 17 pages of research
Ed
on
always
it.
does.
Yeah, man.
And
He's crazy that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, on there it says that it goes back thousands of years to Russia and China,
Oh,
and
yes.
and I'm sure it started on accident. Someone made tea and let it sit there too long, and then it started bubbling because of their naturally occurring yeast.
Right.
And yeah, they were bold enough to drink it and see what happened.
That was me. That was that guy.
Yeah, that happens every weekend in Hollywood.
It turned strange. I'll go. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. And it says, it's fizzy and fermented. It gets a little carbonation naturally occurring. Does that
Yes.
now? Would you have to be void of oxygen for CO2 to form like with beer, or
Yes.
same concept?
Yeah, the way that you actually ferment kombucha, it needs to be done in an open top vessel and then just covered with cloth, like a cheesecloth or something like that.
Oh, really?
Because the bacteria needs oxygen to replicate.
Okay.
So when you're doing the primary fermentation, it does need to be open air.
Okay.
But then once you have fermented most of the sugars out, you then bottle it or keg it or whatever you choose to do with it.
Right.
And then once you put it in an anaerobic environment where it is sealed, the yeast will scavenge any remaining sugars and produce more alcohol and carbon dioxide. So it will ferment naturally on its own as long as it is sealed.
Now you mentioned a fermentation, a stoppage. Basically, alcohol it only hits about 2%. You said, or 0.2. I know that this tea here said 0.5 was what it was.
We'll see which one you got. They
Yeah,
have,
there's-
they have two versions.
Right. There was a CJ and
GTs?
GTs. I'm sorry, GT and another one that I'm not. I apologize for not.
You
knowing.
said it was open vessel. I thought I saw that video that Ed posted and had like some bells and stuff on top of it. Is that part of the?
It's not required.
Not required. Oh,
But,
okay.
it looks like it's pretty important though.
I know the blessing of the kombucha. Is
Definitely,
pretty
you
important.
don't underestimate vibrations.
That's
brother,
right.
especially good vibrations. Okay, they're gonna
Right.
take you. I'm giving them up right now. I'm giving them good vibrations. So anyway, this is amazing stuff. I'm very intrigued, and I love the fact that it's all natural, and especially in the world we live in today. Are there other kinds, or is it for the most part gluten-free, vegan, organic, bottle conditioned, and raw, or is that just a certain kind they make? You can make it.
Well, they're appealing to their base with a lot of that.
Yeah.
The vegan and raw and organic, but it's naturally gluten free because you're not using any
No,
wheat
any wheat,
ingredients. So yeah, there would be no gluten in it regardless.
But by nature, I mean, pretty much it would be organic, right? Because
Well,
I mean,
there's organic sugar and then there's processed sugar.
Okay, so yes,
you can, and there's a big difference in price there because I've looked into it for
Yeah.
the stuff that I make, and
Right.
organic sugar is about 3 times the price of regular processed sugar.
what do you average? What's your average yield? Do you have? I mean, I know how when you brew a batch of beer, you usually do about 5 gallons. That's pretty average.
I started with a 1 gallon glass container,
Right.
and then I got a 2-gallon, so I was doing 1 and 2-gallon, and then I bought a 5-gallon, and it's kind of like homebrewing in
Okay,
that same.
you just kind of escalate in the same manner.
Yeah. So I scaled up recently.
How
and
much do you drink at a sitting? Is it like beer where you sit and have a few?
I actually use the GT's bottles that I've purchased in the past, which is a 16-ounce bottle. So a lot of the stuff that I ferment and carbonate is used in those. So usually 16 ounces. It may do that over a period of time, though. So probably 8 ounces to 12 ounces per serving.
Right. So is it something that's refreshing? Like I know people come home and have a beer. I mean, I hear that it has, a lot of different qualities to it. It's invigorating. It changes your metabolism. Of course, it has probiotics, enzymes that are good for your body, that type of thing. But when you sit down, is it invigorating?
I think so. I think that there is a slight but noticeable, kind of not like a caffeine up, but
Right.
But yeah, a little bit of energizing feeling. I know a lot of people that do drink it just for the probiotic benefit. I drink it because I like sour beer, and I saw that parallel. But I know there's a lot of people that drink coconut water just because they think it's good for them, but they hate the taste.
Oh, okay. I'm not a big fan of
No, so
coconut
this
water.
is
I
like
do.
drinking.
I like it.
This is like low alcohol,
Right. It's
No-
something that in the morning,
just a
instead
good
of
flavor.
Yeah, it's just-
instead of drinking a soda, I would drink kombucha.
Oh, that's a great idea. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. I mean, I used to drink those.
0% alcohol.
I used to drink
whatever.
those
Well,
fizz-
low alcohol.
Low alcohol.
Yeah, low alcohol.
I used to buy them every time I go to Europe. I would buy the thing of the orange fizzies. They don't really sell them over here, and you just pop them in water, and they make like an orange drink. It's just kind of like a.
like airborne.
Well, they were a little bit less. They weren't really like that. Those are kind of. Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, it was something I would always drink when I would come back. It was like a nice way to, not like a soda. You know what I mean? It
Well,
was something
I think
different.
that's actually where a lot of the market share is going to be coming from.
Yeah.
Is from people that are done with processed sugary drinks. That
Right.
if you look at a can of Coke, it has I don't know how many calories, but well over 100.
Uh-huh.
I think Sprite is on the lower side, and that's 140. And the bottles of kombucha that you have, I think, are 60 calories for a 16 ounce.
Mhm.
So it's 30 calories per serving because most of that sugar is fermented out. So you
Right.
get the carbonation, you get the nice flavor, but not all the processed, no chemicals, and low carbs,
Low carbs. Yeah, I was gonna say, what about carbs and calories? I mean, it's pretty low.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And it's definitely. Now, talk to me about the actual filtering process and that type of thing. Now, I've seen in the bottles, and we're going to grab a bottle. Actually, Rob, if you want to grab one out of the refrigerator, we could get into that. That it has like a little bit of a leftover residual hanging.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call that?
That's yeast.
That's all yeast.
Yeah, the chains of little hanging looking things, those
Right.
are yeast. Sometimes at the very top. Now, if there is any oxygen in the bottle when it's bottled,
Yeah.
some of that bacteria will reproduce and form a little layer on the top, and
Okay.
that's actually the start of a new SCOBY.
Okay.
You can take that, go home, pour that into a jar with some sweet tea, and it'll continue to make more.
Oh, fantastic. Do the wine glasses. Why not? Yeah. We'll
But
do-
the little floaties and things like that, they won't hurt you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I believe that we have our first call-in today, Mr. Tarek Kanan from the...
It's Tarek
I'm sorry, Tarek. How are you, Tarek?
and Rachel.
Excellent. Unity Vibration.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Unity Vibration Kombucha. Fantastic. No, I saw your YouTube piece, and I thought it was great. Actually loved it.
Well, thank you. Rachel's here too.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I am great, thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much
Glad
for
to
being
be
on
on.
By the Glass. I appreciate it. Hold on one second. Could you turn them up? I can't really hear them now. So we're talking today about kombucha. Now, I think you talked to Ed, and unfortunately, we don't have your wonderful product, the Unity Vibration, with us here today. But I'd love to hear all about it and all about everything that you guys are producing up there. I think it's wonderful, and everything that's happening up in Ypsilanti. Is that Michigan?
Yep.
Yes? Okay. So please tell me all about yourselves.
Well, we make kombucha tea and kombucha beer, and we are in a really, really great craft beer state of Michigan. I don't know if people know that, but it's one of the top 5 best states for craft beer. And we've been doing it for about 4 years now. We were the first nationally to come out with a kombucha beer, which is a higher alcohol kombucha that's based on kombucha tea that has no malt, but it does have hops, so it's gluten-free.
That's fantastic. The beer aspect is interesting. So is that something that you brew with the SCOBY as well, or is that something that you blend together when you're finished?
So there are a number of ferments for this. So no, we brew, a regular batch of kombucha tea, the initial ferment that you would do to make kombucha tea, and then we oak barrel age this and we dry hop it and add all the fruit or ginger, whatever we happen to be using in the batch, and our added yeast. And so that barrel ages, and then we also do bottle conditioning after.
That's fantastic. Now, do you get a lot of flavor profile from the barrels like similar to what they would get if they were using a foeder in Belgium? Do you know the Lambic type of flavoring?
Yeah, that was the original kind of inspiration for our idea. And you definitely get some caramel notes, some chocolate notes, a little bit of more of kind of a fullness of flavor. Vanilla. It does definitely add some good flavors to it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's definitely so intriguing. Now, I absolutely loved what you guys were doing up there. I love the video. And tell me a little bit about how you guys got started, and for the people at home that interested in this overall. I mean, it's a feel good type of operation.
We started when actually we were living in Santa Barbara at the time in California. And when was that? 2007?
Wow.
2008.
2008, and we were just really hooked on GT Dave's. And we were spending too much money on it, and I had a SCOBY and really had never done anything with it at all. I'd gotten one from a friend who's sort of in the Weston Price groups. They're all really into kombucha. And Tarek was a brewer before, and we just decided to start brewing to save money. And we just both loved it and, thought about our own flavors. And it just kind of evolved into making cases and then actually selling out of the back of our van. So, it's an interesting story. And then we came back to Michigan, and the economy was horribly bad here. And Tarek's an engineer, and I was a massage therapist, and neither one of us could really find any steady work at the time, so we decided to start manufacturing, got certified.
We took our life savings and bought some tanks and started brewing out of our house and got a license to do so from the state. And we started just with our tea, though, and our teas are wonderful as well as the beers. So we started with the tea flavors and built it from there.
Now, as far as getting into Florida and distribution throughout the whole country, so to speak, how much distribution do you have? Are you in a lot of states, or?
We're in 12 states right now and about to go into 2 more.
That's fantastic. Now, so basically, when you guys got started, did you find it was getting into the process? I know when people start breweries and that type of thing, even when they're home brewing, the licensing, and I'm not sure how Michigan is about its laws. I mean, were they something that was kind of like giving you the okay to say, this might be a business that's easy to get into, or was it a little bit tough to get started as far as all the getting set up and everything? I know that sometimes people find some red tape getting into the alcohol business, so to speak. Technically, it does have alcohol in it, correct?
It does. I mean, we've had several starts. We started when we came back from California to Ypsilanti, and that was as a non-alcoholic beverage. But in 2010, there was a national crackdown on kombuchas because, when it left our brewery, it had, 0.5% or less. But sometimes because it's a living thing, it's got yeast, it's got sugar. If it's not handled correctly, the alcohol levels can creep up. We weren't even really aware of it at the time. We just looked, GT had proudly displayed in his label, less than 0.5%, and that was kind of the paradigm for kombucha then. But there was a crackdown. It was pulled off of all the Whole Foods shelves nationally.
Wow.
And then we had to, we were reclassified by the federal government as a beer. They decided we were a beer, and it took us about 4 months to get our microbrewery license and to get an exception to have it in our we had a historic house in Ypsilanti at the time. So
we actually had a brewery in our house for a while until we moved into our manufacturing facility.
That's cool. Now, everybody does know that. I think everybody knows that Michigan's a pretty a pretty
Yeah.
good craft beer state.
Yeah,
I mean, some of the
definitely.
best, some of the best craft beer. It's funny in Florida. Everybody you see all the tourists are all from New York, then they're from Boston, but then they're from Michigan. So we get a ton of people down here from Michigan, and you all think you're rock stars up there, man. You guys come down here and you're like, hey, we're from Michigan, and you know what I mean. You have a good time, and we love people from Michigan. We love all the products you guys produce up there. So definitely, you guys are a hit. Have you been to Florida at all? Ever been down here?
Oh yeah, Tarek has, I'm sure, but I have family there. So
Oh, cool.
My grandma's in New Smyrna Beach, Bethune Beach area,
it's a
and my
nice
mom's
area.
in Orlando.
So I mean,
My
it's,
brother actually.
yeah. Go
My
ahead.
brother's going to school in Orlando as well.
Oh, there you go. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so I mean, I think that what's your feeling on the product overall? I mean, do you feel that it's going to take the world by storm? Where do you think it's going?
Going to the tippermost of the toppermost.
Awesome, man. That's a great answer for sure. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. I must say that I'm a kind of a virgin. Oddly enough, the first kombucha I ever tried was what Chris over here made. We were at a beer festival together, and he had some in a jar, a jug or was flask.
I think that was raspberry.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I was
Yeah.
hooked, man. I was like, wow, that's amazing. But I had no idea that I could go buy it and.
Yeah, I've been making it for a little while. I think you guys obviously started before the whole crackdown. I was a kombucha user at the time and witnessed that all happen where I was used to getting it thinking it was non-alcoholic. And then, I knew that there was some alcohol in there, but then I saw them pull it off, reclassify it. So it must have been, I'd say from a business standpoint, good to get in before. But then obviously there was a nice hiccup to go through the licensing, but I think you're happier being on the alcohol side, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah. And being a craft beer guy, I was really intrigued by the kombucha beers. I was fortunate enough to sample them before the show, and they were a little sweeter than I thought they were going to be, but I guess that's how you get it up to that 8% alcohol.
Well, it depends. I mean, it's the raspberry flavor tends to be sweeter. It's more like a framboise, like a lambic. Like if you've had Lindemans before,
Yeah.
that's a really sweet stuff. It's more of it pairs nicely with desserts. Our newer flavors are a bit drier. The KPA, the Kombucha Pale Ale, is definitely targeting more of an IPA kind of feel. It's got a lot of dryness to it.
Yeah,
Good
I'd like to
bitterness
try
in it.
that. We didn't have that one. We had the ginger and the raspberry, but the flavors were great. I just coming from kombucha to the kombucha beer, it was just noticeably sweeter, but the flavors were great.
So I would imagine you guys use all natural flavoring, correct? When you pick your fruits and that type of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now.
Oh yeah. I mean, and all of our ingredients, even though we're not organically certified, our ingredients are all organic as well. We're very into health and raw foods. And
Do you buy those locally, or do you produce those? Do you grow them yourself, or do you come up with a lot of the produce that you put into your products?
Well, yeah, we do as much as we can sourcing and season as we can. We'll freeze some of it. We do our best. So
Of course.
we hit the farmers markets and things like that.
You guys seem pretty trustworthy. Like you putting good stuff in your products.
Oh yeah, we do. We do.
We don't skimp at all.
Well, Chris was telling me about some of the process because he's made it a few times. And is there a difference in basically he's saying once you have the initial kombucha batch, then you can use that to reignite the new fermentation in the previous batches and whatnot. Do you have different strains? Are there different types of the initial plant that you use? Tell me a little bit about how you go about that, if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, it's the same culture pretty much
Okay.
that we've been using. It'll grow to as big as it needs to be. Pretty much, it's a really amazing, resilient organism, if you want to call it that.
So you can do we don't do a continuous ferment. We do take off the old mothers, but we basically every time you do a batch, another one grows, obviously. And when we do the barrel aging, there's something called a pellicle that forms that's very similar to the SCOBY, which is kind of interesting. It forms right in with the hops and the berries and everything. So even though we don't put a mother in the barrel, one starts to form anyway.
Now, is there a temperature, kind of like with yeast, a propagation? Do you have and with fermentation and your barrel rooming and everything. I mean, you guys temperature controlled. Tell me a little bit about your firm. Do you have brewing experience, brewing beer as well? Is it?
Yeah, I've done beer. I've done different kinds of wines and whatnot in the past, and yeah, temperature is very important. The beer is, does best at about 70, 75, and the kombucha actually does better a little warmer. But we're kind of fighting the elements a lot of the time because our factory, which is nice, isn't climate controlled yet. So we're kind of working with it as best we can.
Well, it's nice that you're in Michigan and not Florida, where you have to fight the cold other than the heat, because it's kind of hard to go the other way.
Yeah, I have an air-conditioned room
that would be really hard.
Yeah, I try and keep one room at 80 degrees constantly, and that's where I have my vessels in.
Oh, they work better in that type of temperature?
Yeah.
Oh, so because you want those fruit, does esters form similar to beer? Is that where you get your fruitiness, or?
No, it's not really ester. It's more of a bacterial thing than yeast. But but the fruit flavors come afterwards if you actually add fruit.
Okay.
It develops more of an acidic flavor on its own. Sometimes cidery, sometimes vinegary, but apple cider vinegar is probably like a good description of the plain kombucha if you just let it go.
Do you blend them, Tarek? Do you blend older and newer, kind of like with lambic?
We're going to get into that because we're going to do some long-term aging. We've been experimenting with that in barrels, and it's just amazing. It really, really dries out, and the flavors just evolve and change. It's just the whole process is fascinating, really. The warmer temps for the kombucha, they affect the bacteria mainly. The Acetobacter likes it warmer, so that's where the vinegariness comes from. And when you want to make it more beer-like, you want it to be cooler to kind of help the yeast propagate. But kombucha is fascinating. It's got every kind of, believe it or not, lager yeast exists in the kombucha culture. Brettanomyces yeast exists. Saccharomyces yeast exists. Acetobacter, Lactobacillus. So it's just quite an amalgam of different organisms.
That sounds absolutely amazing. So, and it's interesting. You have all kinds of flavors, and you were talking about the kombucha pale ale. Now, and you have basically pale ales and beers, and that comes from the overall process and the ingredients that are involved that make it different from the tea. Correct? Just so I'm straight on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, well, we hope to see you down here real soon in South Florida. Now, tell me a little bit about, are you going to be in the Whole Foods down here as well very soon, or you already got that worked out, or are you in all Whole Foods throughout the country, or what's up with that?
Well, we're not in every region yet. We just got into the Florida region, and they just stocked the shelves in I think it's called Winter Park and a few other stores, and it'll be coming down your way very soon.
That's great. Now, talk to me a little bit about everybody. The first thing out of their mouth is that it costs $3.75 a bottle or whatnot. Is there a high cost to produce it? Is that why? I mean, I'm sure you guys aren't trying to gouge people on the price.
Yes. There are lots of reasons. Ours is really quality. We don't use essences and things that are watered down. And I'm not saying other manufacturers do, but there's a reason why theirs is cheaper. They mass produce it. They use machines. Ours is all made by hand. We're artisans. We're not doing things on a really big scale. And ours costs more because we use really great ingredients.
That's
organic everything, and
we juice everything. Everything, all the juices that are in the kombuchas are all juiced: mint, pear, whatever you see. We juice it and put it in for the at time of the bottle conditioning. So. And
it also takes, from beginning to end, I'd say for the beer, it probably takes about 6 weeks to really get it where it's set. We feel that we can sell it, and the tea probably about 4 weeks. So it's it takes time to make it.
One last question: other than the barrel aging, is there like a fermentation vessel, kind of like that you have where it sits for those 6 weeks? Do you use stainless steel as well, or is it all just barrel, or are there variations of containers in which you can ferment in?
We use high grade polished stainless steel for the kombucha.
Okay.
And then it goes into the oak, and then it goes into glass.
So that's the secondary fermentation that you're putting it into oak then. where you add the fruits and stuff. Okay, great. Just like beer. Fantastic. Well, this has been extremely interesting. I can't thank you guys enough for calling in. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute eye opener for me, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck for sure.
Great. Check us out at unityvibration.com.
Definitely, and check out the YouTube video as well.
That's a great video.
Really awesome. We liked it a lot. So it's Tarek and Rachel Kanan, right?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for calling in to Buy the Glass Show. You guys are awesome. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Wow, that was really cool. Yeah, I mean, I never really thought that, it's interesting because tea overall, is fermented to be made, but then, tea overall is fermented to be made, but then I never really, thought about the fact that that you can make a whole other product out of a different form of it. So this is great. This is like a wave of the future.
It's yummy.
It is yeah. You guys are trying it now.
Yeah.
Some of you for the first time, I think. So
I never even heard of this stuff until like Sunday when Ed.
I can eat these clams that are floating in it.
you can. You had a big
Because I just did.
you had a big chunk in yours.
Yeah, that's good for you, right?
That was actually I saw when you poured it. I didn't want to say anything because they were on the call, but
I'm a brave guy.
you got a little culture that was a SCOBY. You could have.
George has no culture.
I got a
man.
SCOBY. I got a SCOBY
To
snack.
the doctor's office.
You could have taken that and put it into a jar
Yeah.
with some sweet tea and started your own
Oh,
culture.
too late.
Yep. you
So
already
this
ate it.
here floating is the same as
Well,
that?
no. So
Oh.
that looks like yeast to me.
Okay, just straight up yeast.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
But he had it was like a
Giant, man.
like a clam.
It was,
like you said,
it was the blob.
It-
man.
It was a hawker.
I chewed it up.
What's the difference between this one and the one we had before, though?
well, this
This
is
is called mojito. but-
maki mojito.
It's very yummy.
I gotta say, this is
I
fantastic.
mean, it's got some zing to it. It's got tart. I like tart.
Zing.
This is definitely something, and especially since it's low calorie, that I could, drink as a complete, just a recreational beverage, just
Yeah.
sitting around. I mean, this is awesome.
Right. That was my idea is that I can't drink beer all day. So
Right.
when I can't drink beer instead
Why?
of drinking soda,
Right.
Punish your
they
liver.
frown on that at work.
Oh yeah, I work from home.
But yeah, so this definitely filled a void
Yeah.
where I can't drink beer all day.
So do you have a steady batch going all the time? I mean,
Definitely.
that's awesome. And you've been doing it for how many years?
A little over a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to take it to the next level? What do you think?
I hope to. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you think that you're going to encounter a lot of the problems they did up north? I mean,
Well,
Florida, it's a whole nother animal.
Florida is going to be more difficult than
Yeah.
Michigan was. They said they had a brewery operating out of their house. You can't do that here. You need to be
Yeah.
in an industrial zoned
Right.
area for beverage manufacturing specifically. So there's certain zones that are required for that. You need to go through the ABT. You need to get a license just like you would for a brewery.
Right.
So it's $3,000 just for that license before you can even start producing anything.
Yeah, but it's not a saturated market.
No, it's not, and that's
which is
what I
awesome.
hope to.
And you got a leg up because you're good at it
Yeah.
already.
That's
But,
the
I mean, I
plan.
tried your stuff. It was
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
fantastic. I mean,
that's-
everybody's making beer these days. It's kind of like a joke, you know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Well, it's not a joke.
Well, I'm
'cause
just saying,
I've-
like, to get into it now, I mean, it's like, there's so many people making beer now. It's
Right.
kind of like,
You gotta be
I've
awesome.
been selling craft beer for 6
Yeah.
years. So
Yeah.
so going back 6 years ago, most people I talked to had no clue what it was.
Right.
And now everybody has an opinion on it.
Absolutely.
Everyone's an expert, and everyone
yes.
knows everything
an
about
expert.
it. Yeah.
Well,
You
that's
have a
why
blog.
you're
You
here.
must be an expert.
That's right. Because of the blog, thus the expertise.
Yes, that's
Yes.
right. That's right.
It's
you,
the only-
you actually have to pass a test before you
That's
start
right.
a blog, right?
Yeah. You have to be able to make a blogger account.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be able to exactly
Log on.
log on, plug it in.
Remember your password. It's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough.
Well, I think By the Glass Show is like a credential.
Yeah, it
geez.
is.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely.
It's on your resume, is it?
Is
It is.
Fantastic. Well, we got plenty of footage for you. But no, I mean, it's what I meant it by that was that it's certainly something that it's a love and passion,
Mm-hmm.
and doing it because you love it is really more also all the reward that comes from it, and the fact that you actually like the beverage to, a lot of people got into craft beer because they didn't have any beer to buy. Couldn't buy any good beer, so they made it themselves, right? All the guys, all our pioneers that are making great beers
Yeah.
for the last 20 years and whatnot. And you definitely a reason to make good product that you honed in on yourself is because not only is it certainly not widely available, but it's very expensive. Now, talk to me about the raw materials to make it. Is it pretty fairly inexpensive to make, or is it expensive to make? That's what I'm trying to get out of them. But
Sure.
It takes a while.
It-
I mean,
that's
it's
it's
a
the
time
time.
thing.
The time.
It's the time.
And time is money.
Yeah. So if you
Like
have
growing any other mushrooms, man. It's like a 2-month process by the time you start.
if you have
I've
a-
heard.
if you're doing a regular ale at a brewery, you can turn it around in 10 days.
Right.
So if it takes him 4 weeks on the tea, 6 weeks on the beer, that's
That's a long
a
time.
lot
man.
longer.
Yeah.
So that opportunity cost adds up. The raw ingredients are cheaper depending on what you use. I mean, there are cheap teas and there are cheap sugars. If you are using all organic sugar, that is quite a bit more expensive. And there's some teas that are ridiculously expensive, and depending on what you use, it can add up. And then all the fruits, if they're using organic fruits and ginger and things like that and juicing it in house. I do have a juicer, and I experiment on a small scale, but I can only imagine when you get to the level that they're at, what it costs. So that adds up.
No, absolutely.
Are you making beer too, though? Or are you just making the tea?
I have
what's the
made beer.
plan?
Well, no, I if I open up a facility, it's going to be kombucha first and then beer afterwards, because there are breweries already competing on a much larger scale, and I'm not looking to do a 30-barrel kombucha brewery. You can use wine tanks, and since it is an open air fermentation, you're not looking for a conical fermenter. You can use the flat bottom tanks that don't have any lids and just let it breathe on its own. So it's more of a lambic style or wild ale style brewery. So it can be done a little bit cheaper on the equipment side. You don't need 3 vessels. You don't need a whirlpool. You don't need a lot of the other stuff, but it's still, I mean, it's going to be thousands of dollars once you get everything in place.
Yeah, but I think that the world is ready for
I really
it.
want to drink this beer now. I really want to try that out. It sounds
I-
really yummy if it tastes at all like this.
It's a little sweeter. Like you said, it's like,
I like sweet beer.
if you've had Lindemann's Framboise, like this has kind of the same flavor, but if you took all the sugar
No,
out of
is
it,
all the beer non-malt? Because I heard them saying that they have they use hops, not malt. Is that all
right?
Of it?
Because again, they're using sugar as their sweetening
Okay.
agent, so they're not using malt to try and extract the maltose.
Am I
from
gonna
the-
like it, Brett? Because you know how I like my malty beers.
Yeah, I think you will.
All right.
Well, if
You'll like it
tastes
if it's
th-
void of
this
hops.
is really delicious.
malty to you is synonymous with
Like
sweet.
I like Guinness, right?
Right.
Like
He likes that. He
you know,
likes anything
Newcastle,
that has
all those
Malloy,
dark, malty beers.
anything
Okay.
that's roasted.
Okay,
He
so-
likes roasty.
You're not going to get that from this, but
But I mean, this is really good, and I don't mind a sweet beer. I like those chocolatey oatmeal-y thick
yeah.
beers.
What-
And sour.
what drew me to this is that it's dry. It
Mm-hmm.
has the tartness, but it's not sweet. You may pick up a little bit of the fruity sweetness on the initial sip, but it finishes dry and crisp. And I can only drink so much of a sweet beverage, where if something
Oh,
is
yeah,
dry, I
yeah.
can drink much more of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So,
Oh, we're gonna have 3 more bottles for you to take home tonight.
All right.
yeah, man.
Now, is there a SCOBY in every bottle?
No, not.
Scooby.
There's a story in every bottle, right? No,
Because I'm gonna go buy some sweet tea and make
Yeah.
my own if I could,
So the GT's has an original flavor, and I don't think I've ever seen a SCOBY in the original. But I think a lot of the ones where they add other fruits and things that add more sugar to it, there's more.
So is it like a
Available.
lottery, like that
Yeah.
one I just drank? You don't get one in
How
every
did you
bottle.
get your original Scobies?
I used some of the GT's bottles, and I met another guy that was brewing kombucha, and said, because I always thought that you needed the SCOBY, and he's like, no, you don't need a SCOBY, you just need more kombucha. It takes longer if you don't have a SCOBY
I
to
see.
get one to grow, but once you have one, it makes it that much easier. But as long as if you have a good amount of kombucha, the big thing is if you're starting a batch, you need to maintain the right level of acidity. So water has a pH of 7. The kombucha that we're drinking is probably in the 3 range.
Okay.
And you don't want to have it too close to the pH of water, because then other bacteria will grow in there, and the bacteria that you don't want.
Right.
But as long as you have a very low pH, then it wards off a lot of the bad stuff and only lets the good stuff live in there.
It's interesting to lower the pH. the more good stuff grows.
Brett, you probably shouldn't have shaved today with the kombucha show.
Oh yeah, what do you think? No,
No, that's not hippie enough.
no,
I
Same with you.
totally
I-
shaved.
well, you know,
Both
yeah,
of you
man.
over there.
Yeah.
We're the straight kombucha
We're
guys.
going 6 years, no shaving.
That's good. Yeah.
Just trim, just trim.
6 days for me.
I would not shave, bro. I look pretty good with a goatee, but I have like, if I have like skin issues. If I grow a beard, it gets itchy and shit. I can't deal it. I've tried, man. I tried. Look, man, I've been on vacation. And like, I'm definitely keeping this, but then it's like, I can't do this shit.
Yeah, it gets itchy after.
I don't want to smell
It
spaghetti
is.
sauce all day long.
You just got to power through it.
That's true, man. This guy's got balls. We love it. This is fantastic, guys. We're having a wonderful kombucha show here, and
Yeah, we
we're
are.
learning a ton of stuff. I love this. This is what it's all about. We had our wonderful guests, Tarek and Rachel Kanan, and they're amazing up there. It's Ypsilanti, Michigan, and I'm sure Ypsilanti is a very fun little town where they probably have a lot of really great little craft beer bars and everything, because it's Michigan, so a lot of people brew in the wintertime.
Yeah, I was in Michigan last year, but they were not on my radar at the time. Otherwise, I would have loved to have gone by.
Yeah,
I did most of the big breweries, but
Did you?
but I skipped. I didn't even think to look for kombucheries, if that is a word. I may have.
I like
coined
it
that.
if it.
I think it's a
let's
good
say
word.
it is.
It's a good
I mean,
word.
winery, brewery. Why not
Kombuchery.
kombuchery?
Yeah. It's kind of like taqueria, carcineria.
Sure.
You got one downstairs.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like just add aria. It could give you a kombucheria.
That's how it works in Spanish.
In Spanish, it's kombucheria.
Right.
Yeah, definitely the ones
Okay.
that are in Mexico.
La kombucheria,
La
right?
kombucheria, yeah. This is pretty amazing. I'm very intrigued.
I'm making kombucha punch over here.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
Oh.
is the ginger ale
The
one.
ginger one.
Okay, so
we're
we
going to
got the
try the
third one.
ginger one now, and,
Oh,
and
great.
I'm
This
a
is
big
ginger?
fan of this.
Okay, cool.
And
I love
if you,
ginger.
if you ever drink bourbon and ginger, which
No,
I
but
do from time to
They
time,
had this kimchi hot pot down the street with ginger and kimchi. Mm.
All right, so
another
we're-
fermented
Oop, I
beverage.
I just got a
so
chunk.
You got a lot of chunks. That's
Wow.
so from the bottom of the bottle. I guess similar to when you open up a sour beer and there's a lot of bottle conditioned yeast on the bottom.
Right.
You got some of that.
Yeah, awesome.
Congratulations.
No, thank you.
It's chewy.
I've never been so
You're gonna have
excited to have.
kombucha growing in your belly tonight.
Yeah, I've never been so excited.
So lactobacillus is one of the big bacteria in here, and you already have that in you. So
Yes.
you're just adding a little more.
That's
it's okay.
great.
It's okay.
Yeah. Definitely.
Is this going to make me fart?
I don't know.
So can we add a little Jack Daniel's bacillus?
Sure. You want to do it right in here?
Absolutely, just pour a little bit in there because you said that it's a great mix. Now, this is By the Glass Show, folks. Show about beverage culture. When we mix all kinds of fun stuff, wine, beer, spirits, and everything in between, kombucha and Jack Daniel's. I don't know if this is what they intended it to be, but this is what we're gonna do and have a little fun on the show.
Pass that around, Rob.
Yeah, there you go. I'll mix it up a little bit.
Jack Daniels.
When do you see
isn't in here
kombucha
by
going
accident.
mainstream, man? You see like in a bar where you could walk in and like order a kombucha? You think it's gonna happen? I mean,
I think it will happen.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a fad. Obviously, the drink has merit because you like it. It's
Right.
not something.
It is actually really good.
You're
And
not drinking
I don't
it
know
just because it's
saying that because
probiotic.
I want to impress a chick like with
I could
kava.
I could honestly care less if it was probiotic. I think
Right.
it tastes good.
Neither could at the time.
And it's a nice alternative to soda, or I don't drink soda, but I mean, if I like you said, you can't drink beer all the time, and I'm sick of drinking water. I drink unsweet tea. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what I
Can't wait
drink.
to tell my wife what I had.
and this is
for the
also
show.
unsweet tea.
It's great.
Because it was sweet tea and then it was fermented out.
Yeah, and it's low calorie and
Oh, this
low
one's
carb.
the best one out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And this is really phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, if you like ginger beer, the soda,
I like ginger ale.
same thing.
Can I use home
no,
brewing
no,
equipment to make some at
not
home?
beer.
Pretty much.
Yes, but you want to avoid using plastic as much
Okay.
as possible.
What about a glass carboy?
Okay, but carboys. There's an issue with
Because
carboys
you want
because
it to breathe. Right.
yeah,
Okay.
and the neck of the carboy,
It's too small.
you'll never be able to get the SCOBY out of there because once it grows,
Right.
it's one solid mat and it forms the
Oh.
width of the
Vessel.
the,
right?
the vessel.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So I looked for a large serving vessel, so
Okay.
like a punch container that has a wide open mouth and a spigot at the bottom.
Okay.
As long as you use a stainless steel spigot and a glass container, you're
Okay.
good.
Okay.
And then once you scale up, obviously they don't make glass vessels that are
Yeah.
huge, so you got to go to stainless
Okay.
or
Interesting.
oak. They're also using barrels. I
How do
like
you
to-
keep? Oh, you can put the cheesecloth over there, and that keeps out a lot of the like,
dust and bugs
crap,
and
right?
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, man.
But other than that, yeah, it's pretty open.
Yeah.
And once you get that culture going, you can keep on using it. I've actually used some Cantillon bottles and some other
Yes.
sour beers and taken a little bit of the bugs from those and dumped it into mine to see what happens.
I was just in Belgium about a month ago drinking Cantillon and
love
all
it.
kinds of sour
I love
beers.
it.
I drank every Faro I could get my hand on, every Goose. Went to every old Goose house I could find. And I just had the time of my life, man. The only problem I had
Another
was,
oyster.
I got to say, I'm kind of an old lady when it comes to my stomach. I have issues. And after a while, the pH of it's very high. It affected my stomach.
We all get that when we get older, man.
But
It's
but
one of
other
those
than that, I mean, I just loved it. And then we were just out in Colorado drinking the La Folie, and they gave me the new and the old, and I did a little blend myself. I made my own little goose out of it. It was fantastic,
A
man.
little Grand Cru.
It was it was really a lot of fun. And this right here, I just absolutely, this is awesome stuff. You know, I think that this would probably be a huge hit in Belgium if you know what I mean, over there.
It should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is amazing stuff.
But actually, if you were just there, you know that most people don't drink the sour beers in Belgium.
no, they don't actually.
No, most people drink either.
Everybody was drinking frickin' honestly, everybody mostly was drinking Lef and like, you know, it's weird. Basically, I don't know. That's what I saw on the tables everywhere. But I was in Brussels in a real tourist area for a while. Then we went to Chimay, but most of the time when I was hanging out, it was all throughout Brussels. So there's a lot of tourists.
There's another lager. I was there back in 09. Jupiler. Jupiler is the big one there.
Yeah, that was the big one. But you know, I got to say the Stella tasted really good. I'm not a big. I don't drink Stella normally. And I was at this. They had a little go-kart track, and we were racing around, and I needed something refreshing, and they had the Stella on tap, and I tasted it, and I couldn't believe it was the same beer. Because Leuven's only like 20 miles away, man, and it was fresh and yeasty, and it was just unbelievable for a lager. I was blown away that it was the same beer.
They also sell beer out of vending machines there, which is great.
Yeah, it's a fun place, man, definitely.
Yeah, I went one time. When was that? 1996.
96?
Yeah.
To Belgium.
I went to Paris, and then we stopped in Brussels on the way to Amsterdam.
Was this before your blog? Did you have
Did
you have a BBS?
It was barely internet then.
Were you on CompuServe or Prodigy?
I had an AOL account. You know the CD.
A dial-up AOL.
10 hours free.
16.6.
Take the big phone and put it on the thing. You fax it in.
I had my blog was on paper.
Yeah. But there's all kinds of enzymes in here now. This is there's another aspect of the health.
I don't feel any
See,
healthier.
that probiotic
Mine would
yogurt
be-
really
Yeah.
made me fart.
The
See, that's
JD.
why I'm afraid of this. Is this the same stuff in here?
Well, is
I
that
got a date later.
Like
I don't know if that's a probiotic thing or is
Okay.
that a lactose milk thing for you?
No, I don't have a lactose problem. It was the specific, that the probiotic. There's that bacteria that they're always touting that they advertise. And you can get it in pills.
Yeah.
It's that stuff.
That one app,
It happened with the pills and it happened with the yogurt. I thought, oh, this is going to be good for me. No, it wasn't. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for the people around me, especially. So I'm just afraid. I'll
Sounds
let
like
you
a
know.
personal problem.
Yeah.
I'll report.
George got some problems.
I have a lot of problems, but I'm not lactose intolerant.
He's just intolerant.
Just generally,
most
right?
things
I was going to say intolerable.
Yeah, that too. It goes both ways.
He grows on. He just more Jack Daniels. But this is a lot of fun, and I'm really I'm you know what I like about it is that it's kind of like still very unknown, and it's not like everybody's out there doing it because like you said before, everybody's got an opinion on craft beer these days is almost obnoxious, to the point of where people.
I love it. I still love it. I
Of
always
course,
will.
but I'm just the whole thing.
But-
It's obnoxious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At this point, you know what I mean? We love it, but I guess it's kind of like you love something and everybody starts to love it, and you're kind of like, oh shit, man. You know what I mean? It's like you deal with it. You know what I mean? But this here is definitely something that's a very, very cool hip thing, but it's also it's good for you, and I'm glad to see that you're bringing it to at least I'm finding out about it now because I find it just very, very intriguing. What do you think, Rob?
You said hip.
Are you gonna like blow this for the rest of us and
said
put
hip.
your blog out where everybody's gonna read it? Now it's gonna be like everybody's gonna be a kombucha
I
fan.
think you ought to. This isn't like Kava. When I first started, we were
Oh yeah,
doing the
Kava.
show.
Have you ever drank Kava?
We got a Kava bar right down the road over here.
is
We'll go
Kava?
down there. It tastes like dirt, but the good news is it's really expensive.
So supposedly,
It's no buzz, no alcohol.
Yeah.
Although we'll give you cramps.
it's like a little cup of like not coffee, but
It's
it
a
looks
coconut.
kinda like
it's
coffee.
to give you a coconut shell, and it's
It's
Polynesian.
nasty.
It's a root, but
This is fantastic.
Well,
That's
have you
actually
had
tastes
have you
good.
had mate, which is a
No.
South American root tea which it tastes very earthy, but
Rudy Tooty. No, Rudy Tooty. No, sorry.
mate.
The alcohol. That's the joke.
Good joke. Mate is
No, not really. Thank you. I think you were saying so.
mate is an earthier tea, and I'm wondering. I have not had kava, but I imagine
No.
it's somewhat similar.
Kava tastes like somebody if you stuck your face in the dirt.
It's
Like that.
It's kind of tastes like dirt, but it also has like a real herbal quality to it too, and it doesn't have. They say it's very
kinda-
calming.
It's,
like
it's a
has like
numbing agent. Like it'll
calming-
numb your mouth and your stomach. So like if you're coming down off a Coke, you run out of Coke, and you just and you really need something. Kava,
No coca, get kava.
yeah, it's it's almost as expensive.
It's very expensive, and it's there is a place right across the street. I went in there.
Kava, it's beautiful in there. It's like being on the inside of a tree. It's like a hobbit hole.
Yeah.
The Kava bar.
Kava bar.
And it's really a cool place to hang out. But take a flask is what I recommend.
So they only sell this at Whole Foods here?
No, it is at all your other natural food
Oh,
stores.
so it is hippie.
It's very hippie. But I would like to break that mold because I see that there is, you don't have to drink it just because you live a raw, vegan, organic life. You can drink it because if you like craft beer, you probably will like this.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
I like
that-
it.
that
I
is-
can't wait to
that's
try the
safe.
beer.
That don't have like
You know?
hairy armpits.
Come on, we know you, Rob. That's BS, man.
There's
Don't
some
knock
talent
the.
in Whole Foods.
I love the hairy armpits and those halter tops.
There's
and
any
the
hairy armpits at Whole
ankle
Foods,
bracelets.
man.
Oh, dude.
Not in South Florida.
They're
Not in South
everywhere.
Florida.
Braless, hairy armpits. I,
I
love
lived
it.
in San
love it.
Francisco for 3 years, man. Yeah, I know all about hairy armpits.
I was walking
Crocheted
around out
halter
front
tops,
earlier.
baby. Yeah.
Hollywood's another story.
We're very
Dude,
crunchy
this
here in
is out of
Hollywood.
control, man.
We're bohemian, man. We like it all. We have drum circles and shit.
They do.
And they weren't tourists either.
No.
They were
No,
locals.
that's right. Proud of it.
Yeah. But I don't think that hippies gonna have anything to do with it, especially in South Florida. Do you see many hippies in South Florida? I mean, I don't even see any
Yeah.
at all.
Well,
Hipsters.
Well,
Oh yeah, can't get away from them. Can't get away from them. Jeez.
right.
Yeah, but no, I think this is a product that's got a lot of potential, and you know what? I love the fact that it's just Chris is brewing it up himself. Tarek and his lovely wife are making it up in Michigan, but it's not like Coca-Cola's fighting over the patent for it, so it's still very cool.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
They bought up their vitamin waters and their coconut waters,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I'm sure
Soon they'll ruin this too, but
I'm
right now
sure
it's
it's coming.
actually something that's very
They don't
intriguing.
have any alcoholic products, do they?
They're probably parent company
no.
on something. They're probably like
there must be somewhere.
they're
but-
probably like hooked up with Bacardi or something. Bacardi and Coke, bro. I mean, those are two like trademarked together. Yeah, you never
Yeah,
know,
it's-
dude.
No.
Jack and Coke.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's true. But I mean, like you see,
They,
like
they,
actual.
they have some percentage. They can pull it
They
off.
put it together like Bacardi and Coke, like the two trademark symbols. They go together on a lot
They
of
have an army.
advertisement.
They
They
have, an
have
army
to.
They have an army of people that can make things happen.
You know what I mean? It's like so. But I would imagine that
Well, they just
Well,
probably never heard of it.
And Nestle
In Atlanta?
owns, they have a group that does water and other beverages, and they do the
Yeah.
chocolate. They own
Right.
everything. Once they
Yeah.
see that there's legs, they'll get into
The
it
thing
on all
about
levels.
this though is they I don't
Alcohol's
think
different.
I don't think
Yeah,
that
you're
they
right.
would be able to, they would probably try to change it in a way that would hurt it. By trying to filter it, take away that, because I don't think the general public is going to drink something with these floating in them, just
Well,
because of
it's-
the
it's an-
initial.
It's an educational thing.
Absolutely.
Just like craft beer was 10 years ago, 6
Right.
years ago.
They sell a lot of oysters. And if you didn't know that was a thing, and somebody said, "Well, I'm going to sell these things," if that's the first time you ever saw an oyster, and somebody cracked one open, and
You're
said,
like, "No, thanks."
I'm going to sell these things," it's like, yeah, good luck. I'm not going to invest in your business, but
Yeah.
just order rounds.
no,
and
I'm
rounds
not
of
knocking the
oysters.
kombucha. I'm just saying that
Right, but I mean,
they
it's-
would probably try to change it in a way that would really degrade the product.
Yeah, they'd be
overall.
like, I like this, but let's take everything out of it.
Let's take the
and-
phlegm out.
Yeah, because they're thinking money and what they could do to it
Right.
to basically just prostitute it out to the public, but certainly nothing about what it's really all about. And
And I'd actually be curious how this even grows under processed high fructose.
that's another
corn
thing.
syrup.
How would they produce it in a way
In
to
a
where it
giant
was
vat.
still? Yeah, I
Size
mean
of those
they're so
petroleum tanks.
industrial and processed that how could
Just
they
like
produce?
Budweiser does with beer.
And look at the
Well,
beer.
I think
Budweiser.
I think this actually is
Thank you.
different because of the culture that grows on top. Whereas Budweiser can dump more yeast in a tank and the yeast just goes to work. Because these have to work in harmony, there needs to be a ratio between the surface area of the tank, because that's where the culture grows, and the depth of the tank. So you can't just have these big, tall fermenters and expect the SCOBY sitting way up top to work all the way down. It's going to take a very long time.
About the different kind of fermenter, wider
side, like a cool ship type of aspect, right?
But also open.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
thought I had like a head mic on. Yeah. I was thinking you're relaxing. And then, yeah, but it'd have to be open. Yeah. That would certainly wouldn't work for that.
So it's
with the
it's not
vibration
practical to go to a huge tank and do this. But there was a BevNet, I think, or some website about beverages wrote an article about kombucha and said that they predicted by 2015, 2016 for it to be a $500 million industry.
I would. Yeah. I mean, if it's being sold now,
I'll take 1%.
Yeah. I'm sure you.
I'll be an investor for that. When I win the Powerball.
Oh, you just missed it?
No, 3 people won.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
3 people split 425 million.
Wow.
It was going to be the record on Saturday. That I don't invest in that unless it's like $500 million.
Well, the funny thing is, it's
425 not enough.
No.
Well, it's completely opposite of what makes sense to me, because the higher it gets,
The more people play.
the more people play.
But it's
exactly.
still the same odds of winning. It's just like you might split it with more people.
Yeah.
Like 3 people have to split 425 million.
Right.
Come on.
Right after taxes. Those bastards.
Cut it in half. Cut it in half. That's what, 210, 70
Yeah.
each.
Yeah.
70 each. Done.
Well, Chris seems like the kind of guy that he could just make his kombucha and have a good living off of it and do what he loves and still be pretty happy, right? You don't need to make.
I hope so. No, I live a pretty modest life. I don't need a new car every year. I don't need, once I have all the toys that I want, I'm good.
Yeah,
Like,
and and you're doing it's an artisanal beverage to where you are expressing yourself through it.
yeah. I'd like to make something. I've worked for other people for a while, and it'd be nice to own something, have it be mine, and do what I want. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I would buy it for sure, man. And I hope you get into the process, pretty soon, and get it all going, because I'm definitely going to invest in some of this. But yeah, I mean, I might even look into making some myself, because that is expensive. But I think my wife will like this, and I think it's a pretty interesting product. And you can definitely drink a lot of things, but most of them are bad for you in the long run, whereas this is just going to be good for you, and it's flavorful and interesting. And I just don't know how I can keep my dogs out of it. You know what I mean? It's like open
Keep 'em
container.
off the
I
floor.
come home and they're all like,
Don't
Put it in their dog bowl.
yeah, but other than that, this is awesome. Yeah.
So, Chris, what was the difference between like the teas and the beers that you sampled?
The beers that we had. So these, you did get the original formula. So they talked about in 2010 when they got pulled from the shelves.
Right.
GT's reformulated, and they had one that was non-alcoholic.
Right.
And I'm actually curious. I don't know exactly how they did.
they
that.
don't even sell that in the same area.
Right.
They put it on the other
yeah,
part.
it's sold in different areas, and this one has a black ring on the top that says over 21. So these do contain alcohol, albeit not that much, but they do contain alcohol. And the other one they can guarantee is under 0.5%.
They took it out.
So they
after
either cut the sugar, they cut the. I don't think that they pasteurize it, because they still call it a raw food and all that.
Right.
But they do something to guarantee that it's not going to go over 0.5.
Can't they remove that after?
I don't know that you can remove it after.
I don't know.
It says here they anyway, the guys at Unity Vibration, they do not de-alcoholize it or alter it in any way. Maybe that hinders it.
Maybe you can.
How do you
I've never-
de-alcoholize something, and why would you
No,
want
you can,
to?
of course. It's just like decaffeinating coffee. You can de-alcoholize.
Why would you want to do that?
Because you can sell NA beer.
Yeah.
I guess do you
Yeah.
heat it to the point where the alcohols then
Evaporates.
Evaporate.
Just distill it.
I would imagine that would probably be one of the aspects of it.
Yeah.
But then that would probably kill it, right?
Can you?
That's the thing, is it's alive.
Can you alcoholize it?
We just did.
we certainly can do that, my friend.
Yeah, I'm more
That
about.
was easy.
I don't want to de-alcoholize.
Right.
I'd rather alcohol.
Alcoholize it, right?
But yeah, I don't. That's not what I would be doing if I was doing this. So.
Wow. Fantastic. Well, I guess we're coming to the end of the show. I really got to
getting to
thank
it.
Chris Montilius for coming in, dude. It was a
No
pleasure,
problem.
absolute pleasure, my friend, to have you on the show and all your knowledge on kombucha and craft beer as well. And, of course, Rob from Daily Beer Review. You are the man. I think Tarek Kanan and his lovely wife, Karen.
No, Rachel.
I'm sorry, Rachel. I apologize. I was looking for that. Thanks, Ed, for my bad notes. No, I'm just kidding. And thanks to Ed Roberts for putting all this together. It was a wonderful show. I really learned a lot, and It's amazing. Please do not drink and drive. Consume all products responsibly. We'll see you guys at BuyTheGlassShow.com and SoFloRadio.com. Come back. We're here every Thursday. We got always something fun, new, and interesting. Got to have you back on with something else.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a good night, guys. We'll see you later. Thanks again. Drink kombucha. Good.
SoFloRadio.com and SoFloTelevision.com.